Here we are today. Oh my gosh, it's Tuesday, allegedly. So what I want to talk about really quick before we get beautiful Stephanie on is the timing, the time, our own time, what we think of as time. Is it not odd? So the other day I did something and I swear 20 minutes took about 3 hours, and I've been up since about 6. I swear we've at least lived 3 days. So it's 2:00, which is always time for Metaphysical Meltdown. Woo, here we are. And today we have Stephanie Ingersoll, who is a runes reader and so many more things. And since I know nothing, like nothing about runes at all, I've had some readings with her and they've always been fabulous. So we want to just get right into it. So thanks so much. So what I want to tell you is if you have a question, she can answer questions pretty easily. So I would just have you type the question in there on Facebook, since we're on both platforms. And then of course, you know that later on this goes to YouTube. So we always share 2 times a day because there's people that like to watch in the evening, like to watch in the morning. And we just appreciate you watching if you do. I know it's kind of a cheesy little show, but I'm having a lot of fun right now. So, and coming up, there's an awful lot of cool people, which I wanted to tell you about. I will be putting out later on Facebook all the folks I have for the next couple of weeks. They're really great. If you actually have someone, or you are the someone who wants to come on and explain what you do, I'm looking for people probably in July. So, you know, say what you want to do and what you want to talk about, or if you know of somebody, go ahead and do that, because I have a million asks out. I'm just waiting to hear back from people in their schedules, because people are either really busy or not busy and are just kind of hanging out. So without any further from me, I'm just going to turn it over to Stephanie. So welcome, Stephanie, to Metaphysical Meltdown. Sure happy to see you today, hon.
It's so good to see your beautiful face, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. Can you tell everybody just a little bit about you and how you came to be a runes reader?
In short, it's because I'm German. I am a 3rd-generation Bavarian woman. My family is all very, very we're all just very German. Like, I grew up with it being spoken in the house. Although my family is very Catholic, I had like a deeper connection of wanting to learn more about my ancestors' pre-Christian ancestry. I started a lot of Catholicism, not into that, not to say it's not for other people, but just, you know, wasn't really my flavor. And so I wanted to study the deeper history. My mom dressed me up like Brunhilde when I was a little girl, like a Valkyrie.
Sure.
So I was like, what's the origin of this? And it eventually led me to the runes.
I love that. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell people, what are runes anyway, for us folks that don't know darn thing. Sorry, I was reading questions and you stopped and I got surprised. So go ahead. I'm going to read questions while you go ahead and answer that question.
Like I said, that's the short answer. I could go on and on for years. I could love to tell a good story, just like most Germans. But the runes are a set of symbols between 24 to 33. They are different characters. This is one of them, just to kind of give an example of what they look like. This is my set that's made out of bronze, one of my favorite sets.
Okay.
A lot of people see them in like movies and stories, but they are old written language. That's what they were mostly used for. They were used by the Germanic people, Nordic people, Slavic, Anglo-Saxon, and even the Druids. There was primarily their writing system, but each character has its own history, lessons, and meanings. And so the wise women would cast runes. They would take a handful of them and then throw them and then reinterpret them based on how they land and talk to each other. It's kind of like cowrie shell readings, other like bone scrying. It's a very, very old and ancient form of divination. Love that randomness. Like, I read cards too, and I mean, you can talk about probability until the sun comes down, about 72 cards, certain layouts, how often you could get the same layout. But with runes, every single reading is different, which is what I really love about them. And so I personally feel that each rune is its own ascended master. Some people are like, oh, that's, you know, it's just history. They're nice pictures, they're nice symbols. But symbolism, like symbols, have power. The runes are ancient. Each one is its own ascended master. And so working with the runes is learning each one of them on this deeper level. But that's, I could go on and on about that. I'm a big rune nerd.
That's exciting though, to think that. So they can be made of so many different things, right?
Absolutely.
I love your bronze ones. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, the most sets are 24 runes, like a crescent moon or other like metaphysical shops. They usually have 24 symbols. Those are called the Elder Futhark. Futhark is just derived from the first 5 letters, kind of like how alphabet is alpha, beta. Futhark is Fehu, Urus, Thurisaz, and it just spells Futhark. We actually have a lot of runes around us and so much of Germanic culture around us without us even realizing it. The Bluetooth symbol, most people know what that is, right?
Yeah.
That's a bind rune of a old king, a Swedish king. His name was Harold Bluetooth, and he was called Bluetooth because he ate a lot of blueberries.
Okay.
And I actually knew the guy who started Bluetooth. I worked in his office for a little while, and really into Vikings, but combined the rune Berkana, which is the letter B, with Hagalah's H, Herald Bluetooth, and that became the Bluetooth symbol that we see every day.
And that's why it's a bind rune, because you're binding them.
Yes, I'm a bind rune artist and a sigil artist. I work with a lot of different types of symbols and symbolism. I also study a lot of like Chinese characters, Hanzi, which is just like when you think of the Chinese character for like love or prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
What's fascinating about those is they are combined with other simplistic images. Like you can have like what's called a reticle. So part of it's like a person with a roof over their head with somebody else, and it has a meaning behind it. So like you can play with those kinds of elements of symbolism for different powers of intention. And so I do a lot of that on my Instagram, but it also goes into my Facebook. Or I just, I'm feeling energy like, God, everything is really sluggish. We need kind of a pickup. And then I will just start creating. Sometimes it's much more abstract symbolism. I really love to learn more about light language. I know Lola does that, and a few other people. I think it's absolutely fascinating, but I've been kind of like in this place with runes because I'm a rune person. that's the bind runes.
Okay. I'd love to be able to take a snapshot to see what my light language looks like when it comes out of my body into somebody else for healing, because that's what it looks like. It looks like that writing.
I know, it's gorgeous.
It's beautiful, but I don't know what it says because it's quick. And so I'm assuming everybody's going to get light language eventually. You're probably doing some form of light language when you're creating in that way, right? Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I've seen so many different people's styles, and I've tried playing around with it more and more. And I think it's just a matter of like trusting that flow. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you don't trust that light language, I mean, I don't speak it, I don't write it, I don't sing it like Lola does, but it just comes out of me. And I realize one day, well, there it is, So when you have a feeling, like you were saying, it feels literally, real, I cannot speak today. It feels very, sludgy out is what you said, or like today for me, the time feels odd. So you cast the runes with the thought that you are going to change the energy. Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes that's one way you could do it. For my clients, when I do a traditional rune cast reading, I do create bind runes in that way for them to help with the manifestation of their reading. Like if someone was looking for like a career change or like advice regarding their relationship, I would cast and then create a bind rune using those runes. But each rune has a lot of history and lessons behind them. So a lot of times, yeah, it's just following like what feels right, and then knowing the knowledge of the rune. So like, well, we're talking about time. I probably use the rune Iwas. Let's see if I can find you Iwas. I usually always sit right on top whenever I need to find one. I can't find it right now, but it is a rune about transcendence, flexibility, and so to help kind of bring balance and stability back into our timelines. Nowadays is another rune that's about fate threads. So to help bring back our fate threads so that we can get them a nice row, so that we have some more structure as far as we feel like things are too loose and too all over the place. So a lot of it is for binding runes in that art form that I practice is understanding and intention. Because runes are very complex, like I said, they're ascended masters. If you don't tell them what to do, they're like, I want to do this. They can be a little sassy like us Germans. And so we just make sure we tell them that's what the art of binding it is. Okay, I see it kind of like a shelf of elements or like ingredients. Feihu has all of these different elements. I'm going to take this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and combine them together. Okay, this is what the intended purpose is. And then sometimes runes just come to me. They're like, nope, we need to be in this way. So it's like that balance of like intention, but also allowing for that flow and that divine inspiration to come through too.
That shows how many years you've been doing it though, because you're so open to it. You know, you have the ultimate understanding, but yet you're making it your own. I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
What's the difference between runes, and I see that you do I Ching too?
Oh, I Ching is much older.
Yeah.
It's also based off of a lot of poetry. So the information we get about the runes is from something called the rune poems. There's like 3 or 4 different rune poems, Icelandic, Anglo-Saxon, and so they said Fehu means this, Uruz means this, Thurisaz means this. I Ching is the whole book it's all based around this book, the Book of Changes. So it's really fascinating. Yeah, I'm not sure if you know how much about I Ching.
I know nothing, not a thing.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I love these ancient form of divination because they're very direct. They don't beat around the bush. They call it for what it is. But also when we understand how things were in this ancient culture, so many people think, oh, well, that's such a long time ago. They can't be applicable to nowadays. Absolutely not. There's so many things that are just about humanity or just about the spirit and the soul and the universe that people knew about, and they wrote it in these poems for people to find that wisdom even into this modern age. That's why so many people still practice them. I Ching is how you do it is you have 3 coins, and one has a yang side and one has a yang side. So then you make lines or the trigrams, which are one of 8 elements. Because the Chinese have 8 elements rather than the typical 4 elements for 5, depending who you ask. So they have like heaven and lake and fire and forest. So each one of these trigrams that you make by throwing these coins, you toss one, you're like, oh, okay, this is a yang line or an old yang line. It's easier if I have like a piece of paper to describe it. But you make your trigram, and put another trigram on top of that, makes your hexagram. And because originally there was an ancient philosopher in China, before they had writing systems, before they had the Hanzi, the writing system that they have now, they had the I Ching. And they were looking at the universe and the world around them, and that's how they developed these 8 elements. And then he was writing poems about these elements. Then another emperor came through, he's like, 8 isn't enough. 8 times 8 is 64. So that's the 64 hexagrams that we have in I Ching. So after you make each of your lines by throwing each of your coins to get your first trigram, then your second trigram, then you literally look it up in the book, because that's part of the tradition, because it's all wrapped around this poetry. You find out which hexagram it is, and it has its own meaning and has that wisdom from that poetry. You read it, and then there's some that are changing lines. Again, that's another conversation for another day, but sometimes you get 2 hexagrams for like, okay, this is the start of the reading, this is the conclusion, or everything's fine, this is the reading that you need to know. And like I said, ancient poetry has so much depth and value that we can take into a modern day perspective.
That sounds very interesting. I don't know a thing about that system either. And, I chose my system because then I made it my own, because it's a real easy system. So I think maybe what you're doing is you're doing your own way really of the runes, correct? And
absolutely.
And how many years did it take to get you to the place you are now?
Oh, I've been at this for a while. Well, I could say maybe about 15 years. Really actively, heavily with the runes about 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you find that as you practice your craft that it becomes easier, obviously, because you know it better, but your own system it just becomes the essence of what you know? Do you find that it's easier as it goes along, or does it become more complex because you now know more?
Yes and yes. That's
Okay.
a good question. Because so I also host a rune meditation group, and
Okay.
we talk about the runes in a very deep level in this meditation group. So we talk about, like, okay, the rune lagus, it's water, it's flowing, it's movement, it's our intuition, it's the web of weird, and we used to go deeper into that. But as I develop and I work through it, it's like a conversation you would have with one of your guides.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, Lagus, you know, this, and then they throw a truth by 4 on your face, and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with a younger Futhark, like I was saying, there's usually 24 symbols. I work with 9 additional symbols most other rune workers don't work with, but I find there's so much more of that. Like, this was the torch that everyone wanted them to move forward with the runes. Like, this is excuse me, I lost my train of thought. It's energy today. Like, we want to continue with our knowledge of the runes, because a lot of the runes were like they were shown to them. Like, they got them through this ecstatic shamanic experience. They learned the knowledge of the runes, and they wanted to continue to expand that. So these 9 additional runes, it was like, here's the baton, next generation. Here's how to continue forward with this runic knowledge. But so many of the rune readers, they're like, it's history, we can't change it, it's only this. I'm like, oh my God, no, there's so much more. We
Right.
gotta continue to keep moving in, because the runes are alive. And how do we continue to keep them alive unless we work with them further on?
I agree. So let me ask you, do you ever see guides?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're saying that they make it happen that you get a particular piece. Okay, so then might they just walk in to say something?
Absolutely. All the time.
So you're really watching a lot. You're watching what's going on with your person you're reading, what the information says, and then what goes on around you.
Yeah, and then also ancestors like to come in, and their guides too. Gets a full house. Usually we get pretty warm.
That's true. Everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah, and I talk to a lot of ancestors, a lot of like grandmas and babushkas and omas, and they love to come in with their wooden spoons and bring some sass.
I love it when the ancestors step forward, because after all, what, they know. I feel like they know the most. We're just the youngins here. So let me ask a couple questions before we forget. So Jennifer Hunt. So Jennifer is the one asking the question here, wondering about her career path. Could we ask that? So I'd like to sprinkle the questions in. I'm really having trouble talking. Sprinkle them in here for you today, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So she was asking about career. Like, I read her question about she lives in a smaller community. She's not sure what career path to be focusing on, and she wants to take more of an artistic stance, but she's just not sure which direction to be moving into. Honestly, like, when I was thinking about this, I'm like, should I be pulling runes? And I'm like, a lot of people want to know more about the runes. So many people I talk to, they're like, I have a set of runes, never connected to them. So I think I will pull some runes just so we can talk about them and experience that all together. But I mean, I was looking at her question. I was already getting like information last night this morning. So first I'd like to say is that we live in a world of technology that doesn't matter what kind of fields that you go into, if you feel like you're in a small community, you have so much access to so many things. There's great places like oh, why am I forgetting? Now I'm forgetting words. Patreon. Patreon's a great website for a lot of artists that are just starting, and like readers and lots of other people too, to have like a base for people who can support you in your artistic careers. If that's something you really want, absolutely go for it. But let's see what the runes have got to tell you too, okay? Oh, there's you was. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I did pull 2 runes. Sometimes I pull 1, sometimes 2. I never count. That's where I just follow the flow of weird, is what we call it.
Yes.
WYRD. It's another word for mana or prana or magic or energy, whatever you call it, vibes. We call it weird in my tradition. So I got Isa, which is ice. It's about taking time for inner reflection, inner working. When you think of the hermit, someone who has to kind of step away for that inner reflection, it doesn't necessarily mean stop, but it takes the time for what do you really want to be doing? And Iwa's, this is the one I was talking about earlier, this is a rune of transcendence. It is the rune of the yew tree. Now, the yew tree is a paradox because while it is an evergreen tree representing eternal life, it's poisonous, it's death. And so in that life, death, like eternal life, but death, we have that paradox. The ancients used to use yew ceremoniously. Don't do it, it's poisonous. But that was one that they used to transcend the 9 realms and beyond. So it's a lot about transformation, transcendence. So you're talking about career change, you're feeling that drive like you want to move forward. Well, what the runes are saying right now is that you need to reevaluate what you think of career. So many people look at careers are like 9 to 5. Well, we're in a world of coronavirus right now, and things are changing. Things are changing rapidly. How we look at the world, how we look at careers, it's not the 9 to 5 is not going to be the norm anymore. So if you're feeling that call to an artistic drive, do it, create it, be it. Like I said, Patreon's a great place to go to look and start creating. Make it and they will come, as they say, right? Nothing stopping you from starting that way. But as far as career, like I would recommend stay where you're at. You know, if it's what's paying the bills, just stay in that place of stability right now, but work on your own artistic careers because things are transforming and changing for you right now.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. That's a good one, Jennifer. So Amber wants to know, she's getting her bones runes today. She wants to know, what should she do with them besides cleanse them?
Oh, that's a good question. There are a lot of people who have a lot of opinions about that. And I will say, so there is a tradition called blooding a set of runes. I don't recommend that. It's a personal decision if you want to. Some people like to put their, you know, when you think about blood, it's your life essence. It's has your DNA in it, has so much connection. And some people like to blood their runes because it gives that extra connection. I don't do it because it's a mess. Also, there's disease and those other things as well. Also, when you put that much connection into them, if you lose one, that's like losing part of yourself. I have this beautiful, incredible set of bronze and pewter runes. I made some of these runes myself. That's a lot of myself. If I lost one of them, I would be okay. You know, I could make another one. But when you put blood onto it, that's another step. So many people are like, well, heathens and runes, you got to go to the extra step. I mean, if you feel called to do that, just be safe about it, but I don't recommend it. Yes, cleansing, have a conversation with them. They're ancient masters and ascended masters. They're connected to a lot of our ancestry. Talk to them like how you would talk to your ancestors, right? Saying, hello, my name is so-and-so. I'd like to work with you. If you're looking for like good books about runes, I can recommend some at the end if you guys are curious, or maybe I can send that information to Mary, how you guys want to do that. But like just have a conversation with them because they're alive. So like cleanse, you can use sage, you can use incense, you can use water. Since they're bone, you won't have too much damage if they've been sealed properly, if they've done that properly. But if you're asking about like the blooding, I don't recommend it. It's but everybody's their own, you know.
Right, and nobody else is
No. I've met some people who use menstrual blood too, because of the whole life, death, and rebirth mysteries, but that's also smelly too.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, that kind of goes with a lot of people do not love the idea of folks touching their tools. That's why if anybody's at a fair, it's really awesome to ask the practitioner if it's okay to touch their tools, because sometimes they just don't want you to. Sometimes they've spent a long time making it their own, or more likely clearing it off.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so Barbara's daughter, Kylie, her daughter's name is Kailee, is concerned about getting into Canada. She has an apartment there and attends college there. She's currently at her sister's due to the outbreak. When do you think she'll be able to get back home?
Oh.
It's interesting. Someone keeps hitting the not very happy face. Just wondering why you're not very happy today. I'd love to help you if you really are. But you know what? Usually it is your finger slips. So if anybody says, oh, there it comes again. If you're not happy, go ahead and tell me. I'll help you, honey.
Absolutely, me too. Any way I can. To answer their question, I was getting 3 months, that it's going to be a
Okay.
little bit difficult. The runes I pulled are some intense ones, but Seoworth is the funeral pyre. You
Okay.
think of like phoenix energy, that sometimes some things things explode, things get bad, but then from that comes and reemerges much stronger. It's also a lot of transformation. But Perthro is, I could go on and on about this rune, but simply it's about taking risks. And so that if you do try to take a risk right now, that it probably will not end well. So right now, just kind of hunker down, stay safe, do what's right. I understand that you want to get back in there. I totally understand why. But it's seeming like maybe like about 3 months is what I keep getting being told.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. So hello to all you beautiful people that are out there. I see Kathleen and Kelly and Lori. Thank you all so much. And Carrie, Vicky, Miranda, Valerie and Sasha, Patrick, our friend Patrick.
Oh, Patrick and Valerie, they're so sweet.
They sure are. And Karen, Amber, and Rhea. Hi, Rhea. I was just thinking about you today. I'm going to text you a little later. And Teresa and Gail says so much great information and enthusiasm. There's Sally from Crescent Moon. We want to do a little shout out because both of us work at Crescent Moon in Tacoma. I am a Thursday. What is your day again?
Tuesdays and Fridays.
Tuesday and Friday. So we'll be very happy to get back to our day at Crescent Moon. We love those guys. They're really good to us. They're really, really great for the community. They have lots of awesome things happening all the time. So we'll be really happy to get back. And there's Lois. Okay, so I'm getting down to the bottom so I can ask some more questions. So Sally is saying she loves getting readings from Stephanie. The runes are so accurate. So there goes the unhappy face. So go ahead and say what you're unhappy about, my dear, and we will help you. There's Cheryl, our Cheryl, saying hi from Crescent Moon and Velma. So Vicki wants to know, are the runes you work with the same type that they find in ancient writing that show Unearthed? She says, I love that show, like the show Unearthed.
Oh, I've never seen that show. I'm so sorry. I wish I could tell you if it was the one on the show or not. They are, I mean, yes, they are ancient runes. They are ancient symbols. You'll see them on rune stones all over the Celtic islands in Northern Europe. You'll see those are more what we call the younger Futhark. The characters kind of changed as evolution of language changed. But I'd have to see them to say if they were exactly the same ones. I will say that I work with the elder Futhark and the younger Futhark.
Okay. I never knew what Futhark was. I figured it was something like you were talking about, but I just didn't know. I don't know all the terms. There's Charlene.
Yeah, it's just the name from the letters.
Yes, exactly. Makes complete sense.
Right.
Okay, and Helma and Connie. So Karen wants to know, can you pull a rune for her?
Absolutely. Actually, I do a lot of my readings are just people want to know what the runes have to tell them. I get a lot of people who are like, I've never had a rune reading. I've been so curious. I've wanted to learn. Can you just tell me what the runes have to tell me? And I'm like, absolutely.
Sure.
I don't need to know what it is specifically. I'm more than happy to relay those messages. Interesting. I mean, how I have my runes is in a bowl.
Okay.
So I mix them up, and the loud noise you hear is all the metal that's being mixed around. And so probability, talking about pulling another rune out of 33 symbols, this is against Seoworth. So let me talk more about Seoworth since we pulled it twice. And I think it's very applicable for this time and that we are experiencing right now. Again, that's the rune of the funeral pyre. It is the rune of kind of what you think of like a forest fire. A natural one can be very healing. It may seem a little scary and a little overwhelming. Hearing a fire roar is a very terrifying experience. But then after everything has burnt down and the fire has worked it's what it needed to do, whole new species of plants and animals can evolve and come out of that rich ash. Again, when we think about Phoenix energy, so even though things seem like it's really overwhelming and the world is burning around you, know that this is an incredible time of transformation. This is time for you to hold your power, your true authentic self, and for you to become who you are supposed to be. You know, not every time, not every day is going to be the best day, and it's okay to have up and down days, but know that this is part of your deep transformation. So honor it.
Very good. Saying hi to Chris, and Barbara says she sure hopes that that's 3 months from the time she came back rather than 3 months from now. You know, it's interesting because we don't always know exactly what the messages mean. So let's see how that shakes out. There's hi to Dr. Todd. Love to have you come on with me, Dr. Todd. So if you have the urge to do that, your knowledge is very vast. And every once in a while, I'll see somebody float by and it pings my little brain. And there is Rick.
Dr. Todd.
Yes, Dr. Todd. And there's Rick. I love you, Rick, from Kansas. And let's see, Sally, our own Sally, wants to say, please pull a rune if you have time.
You got it, girl.
It's a Monday and a Friday if you need Sally at Crescent Moon. Great healer and reader.
Now, this is an interesting one for her. We pulled runes before in the past, girl, and this one I think is very, very fitting. This is Thurisaz. It makes the sound TH. It's a rune of Thor. Most people know who Thor is. He's our buddy. About the movies are made about him. Thor is the god of protection. With his hammer Mjolnir, he protects the 9 realms and beyond. The literal translation of Thurisaz is thorn. You can see the little thorn shape in the image itself. And so if when I see Thurisaz comes up, it's about learning how to trust again. That there are people in our lives who are here to help us, just like Thor is here. The way I like to describe Thor is he's kind of like that mastiff who thinks he's a lapdog. Like he doesn't know his own strength sometimes. And so sometimes we may be scared to trust. We have good reasons to not trust, that we have been hurt in the past. That's that thorn in the side. But when Thurisaz shows up, it's about learning how to trust again. That what the runes want you to know is that you are safe, because it's also a rune that's used for protection. You are safe to trust. You are safe to be vulnerable to allow people to help you too.
Ah, good. Very good. Okay, so Valerie wants to know, if I get a reading, do you intuitively decide which method to use? I'd love to connect soon. How do you know which method when you have a sitter?
I only have one method, and that's throw them. They're just, some people like to lay them out like cards, like tarot. They're not ever supposed to be read that way. I'm not trying to say that there's only one way you're supposed to read runes. That's absolutely valid for other rune readers to do. But however the runes are calling to you, again, they're alive, so they talk to us all in different ways. So I don't have a different approach. I literally take a handful, I'll throw them. Like, I don't count them either. Again, I feel the energy of my runes and feel what feels right. So like for a 15-minute reading, I don't do only 5. For a half an hour reading, I don't do more. It's just whatever the vibes are right. Sometimes I might pull more for more clarity depending on the situation and what the runes are talking about. But it's also very therapeutic to take a runes and throw them, and doing that sound effect too.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so Darlene Finney Trainer says she would love a rune.
You got it. Okay. Well, this is such a good one. I love this rune. This is Sowilu. It's the letter S. Like runes influenced our modern day language a lot of ways. So it's the letter S. It looks like the letter S. It is the rune of Sana, the goddess of the sun. We, in Nordic perspective, we see the sun as feminine and the moon as masculine, kind of like how in Japanese culture, see the like Amaterasu Kami-sama and Tsukiyomi Kami-sama are feminine and masculine. So it's about divine strength. Some people like to see that as feminine, but it's like happiness, joy, abundance, good health, really good things. When you think of a beautiful sunny day, this is what Sowilu is. It's the rune of success as well. So as far as like the next few days go for you, girl, you got it. It's a really, really positive rune. So just take that time. If you get a chance, just go in and soak up some vitamin D, enjoy the sun, because life is going to bring you lots of good things.
Very good. And I saw a lot of little sun symbols when I was looking on my phone to see what the day would bring. So the last 4 days, the energy has just pasted me to my chair. I don't know about anybody out there, but it has been incredible. I would go lie down for my little nappy and just feel like I was buzzing. So something's up, something good. Okay, so there's Pamela saying hi. She says, thanks so much. Karen says, thank you so much. And Sally says, it's perfect. Right on the path to learn to trust again. And Angela says, this is Angela Ruber. She says, this is a friend of mine. I've never had a rune pulled. If you have enough time, would you please pull one for me? And there goes the not so happy face again. Go ahead and ask your question, my dear.
Yeah, please. I'd love to be able to give some insight and share the runes with you too. Your rune is, this is a good one too. I don't know, I'm biased, but this is Ansus. Ansus is the rune of, it's one of Odin's runes. Odin is the all-father of Norse mythology. He has many different aspects. In this aspect, he is the wanderer. When you think of Gandalf the Grey, that's where Tolkien ripped it off from. That's most of his books are actually Nordic mythology, the whole Ring saga and such. But when you think of Gandalf the Grey, he who removes all of his regalia, all of his weapons, all of his ways of defending himself, and goes and he travels the world with his two ravens, Hunan and Munin, thought and memory, to look for that wisdom. It's about looking inward for that wisdom and that guidance. It's also about being in a place of vulnerability too, be open and to accept that wisdom, whatever it may come. It's also about taking that time, kind of stepping away from the rest of the world so that you can find your truth and your authenticity as well. So right now the runes are saying, look inward. Your answers are coming to you, whether you use meditation, trance, whatever that case may be, or journaling. Now the answers are going to be coming inward. And that's very, very, that's been happening a lot lately right now with the energy that's happening too.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, lots of thank yous and lots of people tuning in. There's June. Hi to her. And Heidi. Darlene says thank you. She loves it. And Tanya. So Carrie Cole Swain, she wants to say, ask if you had a room for her.
Got it.
It is fascinating, and I love watching this. This is just really fun. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I love it when I know zippity doodah about somebody's craft, because I've learned a lot of really odd things doing the show. I'll tell you, I love it. I like, odd knowledge is my fun thing.
On one out at like a lot of the psychic fairs and stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm the token rune person. And so I learned so much from other people too, like all of the beautiful starseed people I know. Like it's I love learning from the other perspectives. Like I said, learning more about like code language. I'd love to just learn more and embrace more of that because I think it's so powerful and so incredible. I feel like I'm getting closer to there, baby steps. So your rune is Ear, E-A-R. Now this is one of the younger Futhark runes. This is one you won't see in most sets. This is the rune of the goddess Hel. Now Hel is actually a Norse concept. It was stolen by Christianity, but that's fine. I mean, people can take and borrow and they change things all the time. But in the Norse cosmology, Hel or Helheim was named after the goddess Hel, one of the children of Loki, the god of trickery and mischief. Now, Hel is usually depicted as half of her body being a beautiful young maiden and the other half of her body being a rotten corpse. She is the goddess of death. Her rune is the aspect of rot and decay. Now, this doesn't mean death. It means transformation in a slow and steady way, which can be a really good thing. We were talking about Saorworth, which is like a funeral pyre. But for Ear, it's slow and steady. I like to describe Ear kind of like a peach. Like one moment you have a peach and it's like just barely ripe and then it has beautiful fragrance, and then that smell turns sour. Mm-hmm. And then it gets fuzzy and hairy and goopy and gross, and then there's maggots and flies. But once all of that is done, that horrible, like rotten stuff becomes the fertilizer to help that pit to grow. And so right now you're going through a transformation, but it's a slow and steady one. That's kind of a little bit better than like just light it all up because then everything's on fire, right? Fear is nice and kind just to help you to slowly get to those truths. Listen to the daily signs, listen to the daily like little things here and there, because right now you're going through a slow and steady like transformation. So be kind to yourself, give yourself those power naps, give yourself that time, because you're going through a huge transformation. These are like life, death, and birth, life, death, and rebirth mysteries we're talking about, because we're in this incredible time of transformation right now. So honor your transformation, and don't like, it's sometimes healing sucks because it's so long and it's like cycles after cycles. You're like, oh God, I'm just done thinking about these horrible memories over and over and over. Can I just be done? Well, you're saying there's a reason for this. It's healthy to do it slow so you don't overwhelm yourself, so you can still function, so you can still live and, you know, be here. But be kind to yourself, because this kind of transformation is huge.
Great. That's good advice for a lot of folks. I know people are going through that quite a bit. Everybody, don't forget to nap. It's good for your liver. Okay, so very good. So Teresa King would like to know a rune, please. Thank you. Trying to decide whether to keep our business going. Intuitively, we decided to stay open, although we don't have the funds. It's Teresa King. Keep the business open or no?
My gut was telling me continue, keep it open. The rune you I pulled for you is Ingwas. This is the seed. This is fertility, growth, abundance. It's the rune of the god Freyr. He's one of the Germanic gods. Many people know the god or goddess Freya. She is like queen of the Valkyries. She's a very, very well prominently known goddess, but her twin brother, Freyr, their names mean lady and lord. So he is the lord. He's actually the lord of the elves. Oh, I always forget to mention this. I was born with pointed ears. So like the elves are like, I work with them. It's part of my soul ancestry, my blood ancestry. I always forget that I have those things. But Freyr, as the lord of the elves, he brings wisdom, he brings guidance, he brings assurity, but he also brings fertility and growth and abundance. What I'm also getting is keep applying for those loans. Keep applying, keep trying. If other people are saying like, you're going to take your like this and this away, like go and talk to the governor about this. They're the reason why I can't operate, you know, like stand strong, stand tall, do what you feel is right, because you were right to follow your guts. You know, you were right to follow that business. There's going to be lots of things that are changing as we continue to move forward. And I think that safest place, honestly, for you and to be in your business, but be open to new possibilities too, because the prayers is the seed. We're planting seeds right now, and they're going to turn into new things. So be open to new possibilities of different kinds of avenues you can do in your business model.
Yes, I got a little blast of be creative and go forward, because the energy is very stuck. So move forward and do something. That's awesome. Okay, very good. So let's see. So Stephanie says hi, and Valerie Marshall would like a rune.
You got it, girl. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm so bad. I don't have no poker face.
That's okay.
So Valerie, I know you, but this rune is, so this is Gabo. Gabo is the translation of gift. Now, Gabo becomes a lot of different things, and then how we understand gift and gift giving. And usually, like, because it's an X shape, it's like you give and you receive. Like, I grew up German, and so like if you gave somebody something, it's an insult to turn it away. If you go to somebody's house, it's kind of expected you bring a bottle of wine or you do something. Like there's these kind of unspoken rules about like giving and receiving. That's just like old world mentality that I grew up with. Like I'd be shaking my hands with my cousins and they drop like 100 euros in my hands. You don't say no. But that's just one way we look at like giving. It's not always about giving and receiving. It's also how we see, you know, how we give and receive. We give without expecting anything in return, right? That's when a gift is it's truly a gift. Now, this rune becomes the rune of soulmates, like twin flames, when we see our partner as our true equal and we give love without expecting any return, when your partner is your true equal. And I laughed because when I talk about twin flames with clients, I'm like, I only know one like couple that are true twin flames that actually make it like, or like, you look at them and you know that they are twin flames, they are meant to be together. And so me pulling this for you, I'm like, oh, here's your confirmation that you guys are twin flames and soulmates. And of course, so yeah, I hope that makes sense. But your rune is confirmation about your twin flame.
That's great. Yes, I agree with that too. When you see those two together, they just shine. It's beautiful. And Stephanie,
twin flames are hard.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. But they just make it look so easy. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys.
We're lucky to have Shaman Patrick, so I'm excited to see what he has to say. So that'll be awesome. Okay, so Stephanie says hello, and Galadriel is watching, and so Stephanie K. Silva wants to know any message that comes through for me.
You know, I've been doing a lot of runes and I haven't been talking to a lot of ancestors, and I'm getting a lot of ancestor right now. Like I said, I talked to a lot of grandmas, and I'm seeing like another like older grandma, and she's saying, what are you saying? Are you getting shy now that I called you out? Most of you sassy grandmas aren't shy. That's funny. She says that know that you are loved so much, that you have so much of your family, that it's hard right now because they are struggling with a lot of trauma that they inherited from them, from other people. It wasn't fair what happened to them. But that she loves you so, so much. Do you have a name that I can give her? You've forgotten your name? Yeah, she's an older ancestor. No, you're just being shy again. Okay. Yeah, she just wants you to know that you were absolutely deeply loved. And even though you have that struggle, and they don't know how to tell you that you are so, so deeply loved by all of those who have come before you. And they are holding you in their arms every single night when you go to bed, kissing you on the forehead and knowing that everything's going to be all right.
Very good. I saw a lot of people come in for her.
That's why I couldn't get a name.
Yeah, that was all I couldn't. Okay, and they all look the same. At least the 4 that I was looking at. Anyway, sorry, that was my 2 cents. You didn't ask me, but there they are. If I can see them occasionally once in a while, I'll say hey. Okay, so Angela says you were spot on what you said, which of course now I can't remember because it was a few people back.
I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Oh, and one of Angela's grandmas came from Norway. That's cool. All right. So does Teresa King. So Zach Milne is watching. Zach, hello. All right. So Darlene wants to know, do all the runes represent goddess energy?
No, not all of them. There are some runes that don't represent any gods. Yeah, a lot of people think of like Norse heathenism and like Germanic traditions of being very male-centric. That's just very romanticized idea. They're actually far, far more divine feminine. There's a whole sect of like when you think of different types of gods, when you think of Olympians and Titans, we have the Asir gods when you think of like Odin and Thor, and then the Vanir gods, which are the gods that I work with, are the gods of the Germanic tribes, like Freya and Freyr. And then you have the Disir, which are the women of your family. They go from womb to womb to womb to womb, and we honor them like they're goddesses in themselves. So not all of the runes have goddess association. Like we were just talking about Freyr, which is a very masculine rune. How it's written traditionally has much more of a phallic symbolism. This is the much more clean version because this is my public set. But Like we have lots of runes about Odin. He's very masculine, although he does embody both. He practices women's magic. Seither, the tradition that I practice, is usually seen as women's magic, taught to us by Freya. But so a lot of the Norse gods and goddesses have a lot of gender fluidity. Look at Loki. So if you're not familiar with some of those myths, that's a fun story too.
Him I know.
Yeah, most people do.
Him I know. I might have chatted with him before, maybe. Okay, so Miss Kelly Martin says, "Can I have a rune, please?"
You got it. Oh, this is so nice. You guys are pulling all the really good ones. I promise there are like, I mean, we did pull a few intense runes, but this is a really sweet one. This is the rune Cup. This is one of the younger Futhark runes. Again, one of you won't see in a traditional set. This is the chalice, the cup, the drinking horn. When you think of like the Ace of Cups in Standard Tarot, like the cup overflowing with love and abundance. I pulled it like this. And normally I don't read runes in reversal. They were never intended to be read that way. A lot of books will say, oh, it's Merc's Day, but that's the word they use for it. But it's not traditional. It's not anything in history that ever said. This particular one, because I see it pulled like this, because it's the cup, it means the cup is being poured out right now. Right now, what this is telling me is that you've been pouring a lot of yourself into other people, into other situations. You need to make sure you can take care of yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. It's also about trusting, allowing other people to fill your cup for you. There's a tradition in heathenism, like there's called a big toasting celebration called a sumbel, where people would come around to the local jarl's longhouse and they would have a big toast. And the first round of toasting would go to the gods. So every person would get up and toast to this god and toast to that god and toast to that god. And depending on how many people on that table, your cup would empty really fast. So they had mead maidens who would come through and fill your cup for you so you can still continue with the ritual of the sumbel. But it's also allowing other people to help fill your cup for you. You don't always have to do these things. There are lots of people in your life who are there to help fill your cup. But I pulled it like this. So right now we need to change this. Take care of yourself first. I know that when we feel like things are at a intense moments, drastic moments, life or death moments, you're like, it's not about me. I got to take care of other people. You know, like this person's in like a dire situation. I've got to. But again, like they recommend when you're in a airplane, you got to put your mask on first before you can help put somebody else's mask on, right? It's also about setting healthy boundaries. It's okay to set healthy boundaries because again, you can't pour from an empty cup. So right now, just focus on you and make sure you're okay and that you're safe to let other people to come help fill your cup for you too, okay?
That's a really good one, Kelly. I'll be your mead maiden if you need me to. I would be terrible at that life. I can have like this much of alcohol, otherwise I'll be under the big table, you know. Okay.
You just pour it for other people.
Yeah, I'd be heavy on the mead maidenship back then. Okay, so you have about maybe 3 or 4 people left. I want to make sure. Do you have enough time to go slightly over an hour?
Girl, I'm flexible. I'm here for the rest of the day. I got plenty of time.
Okay. All right. So Heidi Page would like a rune.
You got it, Heidi. Heidi is actually, it's a very prominent name in Seither. One of the very first Seiðkona, women who practiced Seither, her name was Heidi. This is one that's been coming up ever since all of this started happening with COVID and everything. This is Dagas. This is the dawn. It's new chapters, new beginnings. When you think of the dawn, it's not quite night, it's not quite day, it's that time in between times. Time of the Fae, the twilight time, where it's that liminal space for endless possibilities. Right now, we are on the verge, and you specifically are on a verge for something new and incredible and amazing. Keep your eyes peeled, and if things start coming to you, you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I should take this or not. Daga says, Heck yes, go for it. It's a beautiful new dawn that's waiting for you. If things seem overwhelming, it's because things are getting ready. If things seem like they're stuck, like you can't see quite right, because it's the dawn. Not quite day, not quite night. Things are starting to become illuminated to you right now. So keep your eyes peeled. Beautiful things are about to come to you.
Ooh, I like that one. Very
Yeah,
good.
it's a good one. It's a
Okay.
cool fragrance.
So, Carrie wants you to know that speaks to me big time. The 2-year mark of my person passing was Sunday, and I've been in a heavy wake of revisiting the grief. It was very much something I needed to hear. Thank you so much. And so we are up to Rick. Rick from Kansas would love a rune.
Got it, Rick.
Our childhood friend. Tom and I both know Rick. And also,
hello.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say hello to Nick. He's also our childhood friend too. Go ahead.
Hello, Nick. So you pulled Uruz. Uruz is about strength, endurance, vitality. This is one that I use a lot. Like if I'm going to climb a mountain, I chant Uruz, because we can use runes too. They're not just pretty symbols that we read for interpretations, for meaning, because each one is its own ascended master. I practice a tradition called Elder, where we sing and chant runes as part of my rune meditation that I do. I drum and I'll sing runes to give us wisdom, to give us whatever it is that we need. Okay. It's also one that you can use runes for binding them, for like symbolism, like I was talking about before. So like Uruz is one I chant like if I'm climbing up the mountain, like I need that extra strength. Mm-hmm. This is the rune of Amthubla. Amthubla is a primordial cow goddess. So in the Norse cosmology, we had Gunninganagap, the void, nothingness, or space. And then we had ice from Niflheim and fire from Muspelheim coming together to create landforms, or the Big Bang. And then there was a cow. To the Nordic people, the Uruk, which is what Amthubla was, it was a early longhorn ox. When you think of like the longhorns from like Texas, they have since gone extinct. They were overhunted, unfortunately. But the Uruks, when you think of the Vikings with like the horns on their helmets, were used for ceremonial purposes because they revered the Uruks so much. Whole drinking horn, because it was an Uruk's horn. And Amthubla is her like the primordial beginning. When you think of like just nourishment and life-sustaining symbolism, this is how they talked about it, was through a cow. And the cattle had so much meaning in like Celtic islands about sovereignty, power. Like to have a lot of cattle meant a lot of like you had a lot of wealth and had a lot of strength. Mm-hmm. But Uruz for you, and where normally, like I said, I don't read runes in like reversal or not, but where her horns lie is where her lesson is. So if I was doing a cast, like sometimes the runes can show up in different ways, but I pulled it like this, which is traditionally how you see it. Uruz, her horns are laying downward towards the earth. Right now, to get strength and the endurance that you need, it's time to let go. There is a lot of baggage and a lot of stuff that I'm getting that you've been holding on to, and there's no need for that. It's time to let go of those traumas. It's time to forgive yourself and to move on, and that's how you're going to endure. That's how you're going to move forward, not by gritting in. You're like, oh, I'm strong, I got this. You know, I don't need to do this. No, Uruz, Amthubla is telling you right now, it is time to release and time to let go.
I love that. Very good. Very good. Okay. We are coming almost to the end. Okay, Barbara, I know you had one, so I'll go on to Belinda. Any message or advice for me?
You know, I'm getting a lot of stuff like cook more, like I don't know, whenever I would talk to my ancestors the most is when I'm cooking. I'm a little kitchen witch. I like doing that. And I hear like a lot of times like those messages are being like relayed most when we are like in that meditative state of cooking. But I'm going to pull a rune too, because this grandma's telling me to pull a rune. You are talking. Oh, that's awesome. We pulled the Soilu again, the rune of sunshine, abundance, happiness, joy, good health. Again, this is the goddess of the sun. Sana is where the word sun comes from, and the word Sunday comes from. Is from Soilu, from Sana. Yeah, I was getting like, there's a lot of grandmas that want to talk to you, and they most talk to us through cooking. And that's not to say like pushing one thing or the other. It's this like this long tradition of like cooking the same exact dishes that our ancestors cook. And when we go through that same, it's like a ritual, right?
Mm-hmm.
We go through like, this is how my grandma made this, and that's how her grandma made this, and that's how her grandma made this. I get like there's an old recipe to like dig up and to work on that. And as you're working on cooking on that there's going to be some more wisdom coming to you, more about like some deeper personal stuff that isn't appropriate to talk about in this kind of place and setting. They are telling me, but it's too personal to really talk about in this. But again, the rune that they wanted me to pull for you too is that it's all right. Everything's going to be great. You're doing everything you need to be doing. You have the sunshine behind you. Don't let these other memories haunt you, and don't keep you from embracing the sun.
Beautiful. Sure hope some of those cooking grandmas come forward for me. Okay, here's my friend Lori with an I, Lauri. I'd love one for my highest and best if there's time. And then Vicky, and that'll be the last person.
Okay. Two. Oh, that makes, oh yeah, okay. Sometimes they stick, like I said, I don't count, I don't do that, I just kind of, let the runes do what they got to do.
Okay.
So I pulled two, and these two are very, very powerful ones. This is the rune Nahuatl. Nahuatl is the rune of the Norns. The Norns are like the fates of Norse mythology. So we have Yggdrasil, the world tree, where all of life and creation comes from. And at the base of Yggdrasil sits three women, all that is, was, and ever will be. And before them sits the well of Erd, or the well of Weird. And that's another word for like energy or source. And so they govern and take care of fate threads that come from the well of Erd, the well of Weird. This rune, Nahuatl, is their rune. It's talking about fate and destiny. It's about looking through our different fate threads. It's a lot about necessity, like what is it that I really need right now? You know, when we kind of declutter all of like the energetic like fate lines is the way we call it, how we work through it in my tradition. When we start to declutter, what is it that I need? What is it that I need? What is it that I need? That's how we start to get clarity for our higher self. Now, the other rune that I pulled is Ehwaz. Now, Ehwaz is the rune of the horse. Now, if you look this up in books, it'll say it's about relationships and how like the relationship between man and horse. But man and horse have had such a spiritual connection for such a long time. In Native American traditions, we see the horse as like a psychopomp, like spirit horse helps souls to be able to move from this realm into the other. In Hoodoo and Santeria traditions, people who have like Loa or spirit within them are called the horse. And so it's like, because they're literally being ridden by spirits. In my tradition, we take the form of horses when we go and visit people in their dreams. It's where the word nightmare comes from. I promise if I come in your dreams, I won't have anything scary to say. Usually I'm pretty kind when I do a lot of my dream work. Compassion is a very important thing right now. And so the two of these together, fate and destiny, fate threads, necessity, mixed with a spirit worker, that right now what's going to be for your highest self is to get back into your spirit work, get back on that horse and do your spirit work, whatever flavor that may be. Some people like to do dream work, some people do astral travel, some people like do as simple as journaling. You know, whatever it is that is your spirit work for your higher self right now is to really ask myself, what is it that I need? Like from a soul level, like sometimes that's just like to have the freedom that it can come back and be my true authentic self and to honor my sovereignty and to have that freedom to know that I can do whatever the heck I want to do, right? Just so long as I'm not harming anybody. Right. Like so many people say, I have to do it in this tradition, I have to do it in this certain way. No, your spirit and soul is free. So just ask yourself, what is it that I need right now? Do I need some rest? Do I need this higher calling? What is my higher calling? A meditation, sometimes I get meditations that come to me. Meditation that I would highly recommend, whatever it is that you see as source. You know, I painted this description of Yggdrasil, the Norns, and the Well of Erd, but a lot of people have different versions of that. I mean, if you feel that calling to go and talk to the Norns, I would say don't be scared. Go and look into source, whatever flavor that is, whatever you call it, the Well of Erd, just the well of like source and knowledge, the cosmos, whatever that is, go and have a conversation with source. I think there's like a fear of like, well, what if I get what I want, right? What if I get told what it is I'm scared to be told of, that I have to do this, this, and this? So that would be the advice for you, for your higher self, is to honor your spirit work, to get back into that, and to time to declutter, like, what is it that I need?
Very good. I hope she's able to comment on that. That was that was really great.
Oh, you're so great.
Okay, we had one last person. It was Vicky.
Okay, and Vicky just wanted me to pull a rune for them?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Rick said he missed his rune reading just as you started, but thank you so much. But you know what, Rick, I'll explain it to you. I'll text you after. I remember, it's the cow.
So, Vicky, your rune is Hagalaz. Now, Hagalaz can sometimes scare some people, but it's really not that scary. Some people attribute it to the Tower card in tarot, but it's absolutely not. Hagalaz is the rune of the hailstorm. So you imagine a hailstorm. One moment it's kind of overcast and cloudy, and the next moment ice is being pummeled at our heads. But depending on the size of the hailstones, it can be just kind of a nuisance, or it can be absolutely deadly. It can absolutely kill people. And just as suddenly as it strikes, it's suddenly gone. Now, the Icelandic translation of the hailstone is ice egg, because the way they saw it is that, yes, that initial ice, that initial strike is very damaging and can like destroy crops, it can kill people, but after that ice melts, it becomes nourishing water, like how an egg is nourishing. It's a lot about transformation. It's sudden, it's quick, but it comes with a lot of really amazing growth and transformation, like positive things that come from it, because there's that nourishment that comes afterwards. The Tower, you're like, everything's on fire and everything is chaotic, and you just kind of have to pick yourself back up and keep moving on. Meanwhile, Hagalaz has that egg that comes afterwards. It's that nourishment, that water, that purification, that cleansing, that you're not alone in this. So as far as like what the runes are saying to you, Hagalaz, is embrace change. It may hurt, it may sting, it may be challenging, but with Hagalaz, there's always that promise for nourishment and better things to follow. Every single time I've worked with Hagalaz, it has always brought me so much abundance of everything I was looking for afterwards. This one was coming up a lot to me before my divorce. And yeah, it has sucked. It would hurt. But God, like, I'm in a so much better situation. My soulmate. That's the difference between Hagalaz and the Tower. Although it's that swift and sudden change, it has so much promise of good things to follow.
Beautiful. Can you tell me the name of Rick's rune with the horns of the cow?
It's Uruz. It's U-R-U-Z.
Okay, awesome. Oh my gosh, you did so many little readings, and I hope everybody realizes it does take an awful lot of concentration, and it takes a lot of work to get to the point where she has gotten. That's a lot of skill that you guys are seeing today. And so I want to thank you so very, very much for coming. And please tell everybody, how do they find you? That's the most important thing, because people will want to go further with this, I think.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me. It's been really awesome. I love doing this stuff. Like I said, I love being a rune nerd. You can find me on my website, ravenwisdom.com. I'm also on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Raven Wisdom Divination. You can find me on both of those platforms. My Instagram is more focused on my art. Facebook, I share a lot of my events. I am still doing online classes and events, even though Crescent Moon isn't open to the public right now. So I just finished up some rune classes. If people are curious and want to learn more, I do host a monthly meditation group It's a really, really awesome little group I've got going. I've been doing this one for a while. It's called Weird Wanderings, because I love alliteration. But it's kind of where we talk about what it is that we're looking for in our lives. You don't have to be heathen. You can be from any denomination. You don't need to know anything about the runes because they teach it. We talk about what it is we're looking for. We pull 3 runes at random. We talk about them at length and in discussion. And then I do Galder, where I sing and chant those 3 runes while people go into meditation to see what those runes have to tell them. It's a little fun group that I do that once a month. And yeah, I don't have too many classes up right now, but I'm hoping to have some more soon.
Okay, cool. Yes, and not too much longer until we'll be back at Crescent Moon. And there are lots and lots of classes at Crescent Moon if you guys haven't been. It's a huge store, 2 levels. There's a bank vault. There's a tea lounge. It's just really fun. And please check that out if you haven't been there. Also, you can go online because they always have something up. You know, those people, I swear, I don't think they sleep.
I agree.
I don't think they do. They're always doing something for the community, and it's just kind of a fun place to hang around. And it's about 2 minutes from my house. That's what I really like about it. Okay, so everybody, thank you so much. Can't wait to tell you later on Facebook about all the cool people we have this week and coming up next week. Please subscribe to Metaphysical Meltdown if you will. I sure would appreciate that. I'm starting now to go out a little bit on Twitter and out on Instagram, which I never have done that before. My Galactic Federation of Light family came in and said, you need to spread your information. And the very last thing I want to say is, truly, if there was someone on that had need, if you need to reach out for me, because I kept seeing the sad face, or actually it wasn't the sad face, it was actually the angry face. And so if you're feeling bad right now, I just really want you to know you can reach out and I will help you, because there's a lot of need right now. And I hope everybody was listening quite a bit to what Stephanie was saying about everybody, because there was something good, and everything you said for everybody can be applied to this time right now. So much love to you, Stephanie, and much love to everybody who tuned in today. And we will see you tomorrow on Metaphysical Meltdown. So happy. Have a good day, everybody.